Is it doing it? Let me see. Oh, all of a sudden I'm hot. Let's see. We're good. I'm going to mute. You go ahead, Arnie.
Okay, Joanne, thank you very much and welcome everyone to the April 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We'll open with a roll call. Mr. Chiocchio.
Here.
Ms. Hofstetter.
Here.
Mr. Sylvain.
Here.
Mr. Haas.
Here.
And Chairman Finaldi is here. We are all in attendance and we will not seat any alternates because we do not have any alternates. Okay. The first item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes of our meeting of March 19th, 2025. Unless there's any discussion or corrections to those minutes, I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Helen. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Chiocchio. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Let the record show our next meeting is scheduled for April 16th, 2025. Also let the record show that the following application has been withdrawn. Belimo Air Controls USA Inc. application for revised special exception revised site plan for proposed warehouse expansion in the IL40 zone, 33 Turner Road, A17001, in accordance with section 6A2A15 and section 10D7A, special exception number 724. Again, to repeat, the matter of Belimo Air Controls has been withdrawn. So if anyone is tuning in tonight for that particular application, again, it has been withdrawn. Before we get to the rest of our agenda, I'll read the standard Zoom intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have an opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Office. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. We have one new public hearing this evening. Item 1, 2 GPR owner LP. Let me read the legal notice first. My bad. Legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. 2 GPR owner LP. Application for special exception site plan approval for 1 storage or sale of building materials, section 6A2B15. 2, storage, sale, rental, and or repair of construction equipment, section 6A2B16. 3, truck terminal, warehouse, moving and storage establishment, self-service storage, section 6A2B19. And 4, wholesale distributor, section 6A2B20 in the IL40 zone, 2 Great Pasture Road, K15109, special exception number 754. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties and interested citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. The meeting agenda will be posted. The meeting agenda to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting and application materials or view the meeting in real time on YouTube. Arnold E. Finaldi Jr., Chairman, posted on City website and Town Clerk's Office on March 19th, 2025, published in News Times on March 21st and March 28th, 2025, purchase order number 2025-503. Again, looking at the agenda under public hearing, item 1. This is going to sound an awful lot like the legal notice I just read. 2 GPR owner LP. Application for special exception site plan approval for 1, storage or sale of building materials, section 6A2B15. 2, Storage, sale, rental, and/or repair of construction equipment, section 6A2B16. 3, truck terminal, warehouse, moving and storage establishments, self-service storage, section 6A2B19. And 4, wholesale distributor, section 6A2B20 in the IL40 zone, 2 Great Pasture Road, K15109, special exception number 754. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Dodo?
Yes, good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Benjamin Dodo, here tonight representing the applicant, 2GPR owner LP. Also with me tonight is Abigail Adams, our landscape architect. I don't see Mr. Kerr. He's a representative of the owner. If he joins in tonight, I will introduce him as well. As was just read during the legal notice, this is an existing site, existing industrial site at 2 Great Pasture Road. It's a 15.6 acre site with an existing 115,000 square foot industrial warehouse type building on it. It was formerly the American National Can Building and Rexam. They were in the production of metal cans and containers. And since then, it's been a direct mailing company. Fuel Cell Energy was briefly there. Fuel Cell Energy is across the street for those of you that are familiar with that, but there was a period of time where they rented this building as well. I think it was the early 2000s, thereabouts. The plan is pretty simple. What we're doing here, we're not expanding the building. The building currently has 2 tenants. It has a Beacon Sales. They're a roofing supplier, and Opportunity Buying. There's sort of a wholesale sales and warehouse. The proposal today is to simply add outdoor storage areas behind the building, and also to link the 2 driveways. The 2 driveways, and I'll share my screen in a little bit, but I'm just, for those of you familiar, there's a driveway on the left side of the site and there's one on the right side, and they're not legally connected around the back. I mean, they're connected, you know, a maintenance contractor or a landscaper can get around the back, but for customers and employees and trucks, they're not able to get around the back of the site. So to get from one side of the site to the other today, you have to come out on the Great Pasture Road, go down the road a few hundred feet, and go into the other entrance. It's kind of an awkward situation that we're trying to fix with this plan as well. The current applicant purchased the property in 2022 with the existing tenants that are there in place. The site does have a environmental history. Between 1995 and 2006, the site was cleaned up of some historical PCBs and petroleum products from the can manufacturing companies. It was cleaned up to commercial industrial standards. There is a current environmental land use restriction put on the property, which is typical with sites that have been cleaned up. And the restriction basically says that there's to be no residential use on the site. So that's not an issue here. And you'll see when I go through my presentation, part of the proposal here is some of these areas that are fine as they are environmentally speaking will eventually be capped with asphalt, our storage areas. And so there'll be further protections in place as well with respect to the ELUR. We do have an LEP involved in this project that's going to be working with us. The process here is if your commission were to grant approval for this project, and before we started construction, we're required to go in front of the DEP, the Connecticut DEP, to have a release of the ELUR to construct the activities. Part of that is a soil management plan that our LEP will develop with the DEP. And then the ELUR will be put back into place once the work is done. That's just sort of how the procedure goes. That's one of the reasons there was a little bit of a delay in the public hearing process here, because we were just recently approved in wetlands last week. And that process just took a little longer than we had anticipated. But we're all approved there. So we're also here in addition to a site plan and a special permit. The special permits are really the typical industrial uses and outdoor storage that Chairman Finaldi just mentioned in the legal notice. But the bottom line is we want the ability, we currently do have an outdoor storage area approved for Beacon sales, but we also want to be able to expand the outdoor storage areas behind the building and also be able to continue to store building materials and vehicles and construction equipment in these areas. Typical within any industrial site that does have a need. We have a very building heavy site here. Just to give an example, the building is 2.6 acres in size, and it has a very small outdoor storage area relative to it. So the building itself only covers about 17% of the site. 30% is allowed in this zone. So we're adding a little bit of parking in the back. The site has adequate parking right now. There's a lot of parking in front of the building and to the left and also to the side. It's just more of the typical industrial users today have a need for outdoor storage that the current tenant roster doesn't really have. We don't know exactly who is going to be in those outdoor storage areas. We're trying to be proactive and get this approved because there are no long-term leases with the existing tenants that are in place there. So this is something we want to be able to plan ahead and not be in a hurry of when a new tenant does get secured and does need outdoor storage space. I'm going to share my plans here.
You're all set. Go ahead.
I'm all set. Thank you, Joanne.
Mhm.
And can everyone see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So here's a site plan. For those of you that are familiar, Great Pasture Road is to the southeast. The dark graded shaded gray area is the existing building that's going to remain. The two existing driveway aprons, one to the east and one to the west, those are going to remain. They'll be replaced with new concrete aprons to city standards, as well as a sidewalk connecting those and the front entrance. As I had mentioned, Beacon Sales is over on the right side. They have an existing roughly 15,000 square foot outdoor storage area. We're adding a small outdoor storage area just beyond that. Opportunity Buying currently takes up the majority of the building to the west side. They have existing loading zones here that are going to continue to remain. They really don't have an outdoor storage need, but this is that need that we're anticipating. So as part of that, we're going to remove an old elevated dock that doesn't get used. I'm pretty sure Fuel Cell had put that there. We have some non-conforming parking in this area, just sort of striped parking spaces in the middle of drive aisles. We don't have any landscape islands on this side, so that's all getting improved and upgraded. But the real thing that we're doing here is we're constructing a retaining wall, not that big of a wall, from 0 to about 4 feet high, to allow a 30-foot drive aisle along the west side of the building that currently doesn't exist. This is, to get a sense, this is the approved site plan that exists today and is how the site sort of has been functioning for years. As you can see, the buildings here, we have the existing parking and loading here, and there's a little gravel drive around the side, but it's the two sides of the site are simply not linked. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to link that to allow access around the site. One of the other things that we have here is we have right in the back of the site, in the middle of the gravel, there's a private fire hydrant. There's a private line that comes in. This is not a city hydrant. The fire marshal is aware of this. They do inspect it on occasion. And part of what we're going to do there is install a new hydrant, but we're going to be moving it into an island here to protect it from vehicles. And, you know, we think this is a win-win situation with respect to getting a new hydrant behind the building and also allowing for full access around the building. The expansion that we're doing, as I had mentioned, there's a small, it's about a, where was I here? Storage area number 3, it's about 4,600 square feet. But we have one in the way back, and this is about 9,600 square foot storage area. We just anticipate this to be more for a tenant to be able to store vehicles, say they had a delivery truck, a trailer, things of that nature. It's a smaller area. The larger area is right here. And this is just a little over, it's just under an acre. It's about 43,000 square feet. It's a paved asphalt area. We are screening it to our neighbor to the north. I'll go over this. Ally had some comments about, is screening necessary along this side? I didn't feel it was, because this is just an expansive wood, you know, a wooded expanse and swamp. There's tons of plantings and trees and buffers. And again, our neighbor here is the commuter rail line, the state of Connecticut rail line here. We don't have an actual neighbor on this side. Part of the challenge with this project is the site has a lot of wetlands, and it has a lot of the site that's in the floodplain. I might add, we're also here for a floodplain permit with your commission as well. The site historically had an active railroad spur that came off the Metro North line here into the site. And if you were to walk that site today, that spur still exists. Again, it's disconnected, it's inactive. And what we're doing is we're reusing that route because it had been graded and filled over the years to establish that rail line. And that's basically the sort of the center line and spine of our driveway here. The rail line that's shown to the east of us on the Great American Insurance Company, this line was recently removed by the neighbor. It's an old test track. It's not on our property, but just to get a sense of the industrial nature of this neighborhood. So our trying to minimize our fill in the floodplain, in order to build this retaining wall here and establish this driveway loop, it required filling in the floodplain and filling in a few small pockets of wetlands. We're mitigating the floodplain fill. We have an area out here where the bulk of it is occurring. The end result is going to be, with respect to the floodplain, there's going to be a net cut on the site in the floodplain of 330 cubic yards. We're filling in about 160 and we're cutting about 490, just to get a sense. So again, we're not impacting the floodplain negatively. If anything, we're adding some benefits to it. Similar with the wetlands, we have this little pocket here of wetlands that appears to be a hole that was dug in the ground years ago. And then we have a few areas at the limit of the parking lot and the limit of the driveway here where it cuts real close to the building that we are filling the wetlands. Those have also been mitigated, and they're going to be mitigated in this area. Abigail will go over her planting plan, but the wetland mitigation was approved by the EIC. We are proposing a storm drainage system to be under this central storage area. The challenge with that is to sort of not introduce extra groundwater into the soils area. So our drainage system there is a tight drainage system. We do have a water quality unit that discharges back out into the on-site wetlands there. So again, we went through that with the EIC. We don't have any increases in runoff as well. Let's see. I think I've sort of touched on everything here. We have received some comments from staff. I can answer questions now or briefly touch on the staff comments. I'll obviously submit a complete response. We received comments through last Thursday and just wanted to open the public hearing so we can do all our revisions, hopefully at one time. So if you want me to sort of briefly touch on the staff comments, or just answer any questions you might have at this time, I'll be happy to do either one.
Well, Ben, let me first ask the commission, are there any questions for Ben at the present time? Mr. Kiokio.
As far as the tenants, Ben, I think I missed what you said. There's 2 tenants in there now. Did you say that they're going to be leaving, or did I?
No, sorry if I wasn't clear, Bob. They have short-term leases in effect and have not
Okay.
committed to long-term leases. So
Okay.
the owner wants to make sure to position themselves, bless you, to anticipating if there is a change in the tenant occupancy that they do have this outdoor. This is something that the site drastically needs. So
Okay, got it.
it's not specifically for any existing. If one of the existing tenants wanted to use this space, that's something they're more than welcome to do. But it's almost in response to if there is a replacement of a tenant, or maybe one tenant downsizes and they get a third one, that type of thing. Again, we do not have a specific user.
Got it. And you said the roofing guy does use some of the outdoor storage currently? but
Yes,
the other tenant does not, right?
exactly. Well, the other tenant has some container boxes in the parking lot that they appear to use over in this area. So as part of this site plan approval and development of the parking there, and it's also one of Ally's comments that those containers are going to need to be removed.
Got it. Okay.
So,
All right.
and I think it's just the nature of what they store can't get exposed to the weather.
Yep. Okay. All right. And so a third or fourth tenant could come in and rent these new spots. Is that correct? Without?
Yep.
Right?
Yes,
Okay.
but we anticipate the tenant to have, it could be just a tenant that just rents outdoor space, but it's most likely a tenant that's going to occupy part of the building with some aspect of an office interior use. And in that case, we'd have to come back in for a revised site plan.
Yep. Okay. All right. And that back, the large paved area, that currently is not paved, or it currently is somewhat paved?
No, it's mostly not paved. It's mostly wooded. There is some of it there is asphalt. There is asphalt to about here. And then there's gravel that goes to the railroad spur and comes back. And then there's obviously the railroad spur and the railroad bed. But it's not currently paved, and it's not really used now, Bob.
Yep. Okay. And is that where the contamination is, and that's really going to be paved over, or where is that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to show you that. The contamination it's a little bit everywhere that it's been cleaned up. But let me share a map that our LEP prepared as an overlay to the site plan, just to get a sense of where it is. Let me zoom in on here. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the pink area on this plan, I would say, extends to about half of the paved area that we're doing. There's other areas, he calls them areas 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those were areas that were remediated in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they were cleaned up to levels acceptable for commercial industrial use. Those areas needed to be cleaned up because those areas were in excess of the limits. So they were cleaned up to the point that they could be below it. The ELUR is interesting. It has one section is under the building slab. That wasn't cleaned up and wasn't required to be cleaned up because it's in essence capped by the slab. There's another area here with the underground, it's a former underground storage tank area, but there are, the depths are at greater than 13 feet deep. So the restriction on there is don't dig deeper than 9 feet, if you could see that on the plan.
Okay,
And then there's, of course, a caveat. The entire parcel has an ELUR over it. And I think that was just done to be safe and make sure that the whole site was flagged with respect to that.
Got
Did I answer it? So
yeah,
I hope I answered the questions with respect. A lot of times these ELURs come into play after we develop a site, when we start working, and then we start finding some areas that need to be remediated. We work with the LEP and it happens after. This site just happened to be remediated 20 years ago, thereabouts. And the ELUR was established then. It just gets challenging when you are working on a site that has one and you have to work in that area. You have to sort of get permission to work in there again and then reestablish it, which we are going to do with the DEP.
got it. Okay,
And the end result is going to be positive because, you know, right now, if you were to walk around, like you just said, it's not all paved. So in essence, the more pavement you have over a site that it's at acceptable thresholds, the better it is and the safer it is. The less likely for soil transport, erosion, human contact, etc.
yep, okay. Thanks for showing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was very helpful. And then in that back area, so that's where I suppose the outdoor or building materials will be stored, but at this point, you're not sure of what's going to be there and how it's going to be configured and all that until you get a tenant. Is that?
Yes, but there is one portion. The fire marshal had a comment as to how are they going to be able to access these storage areas, and I'll do this on the next revision. I'm going to propose an internal aisle in this middle storage area that nothing's allowed to be stored there. So you can actually get I've done this on another site down the road about 5 years ago that was in front of your commission, where similar concerns came up. So what we did is we just internal to the storage area established sort of basically an aisle that you could access it. So it's not, 150 feet deep. So the next revision of the plan, you will see that.
Okay, and there'll be fencing on the interior side, I guess, towards the building?
There's fencing. Well, currently there's fencing over here that currently screens the roofing contractor that was required as part of their approved site plan years ago.
Yeah.
We're proposing extending that all the way along the Great American Insurance Company to here to screen it. And again, on this back area, the only place I wasn't proposing it was in this area. I didn't think it was warranted because I thought the natural buffer would be good enough.
Yep. And so on that back area, the large portion.
Yes.
It's all going to be open?
Nope. There's going to be fencing from here to here and then back down.
No, I mean the large storage area.
Oh yes, that's going to be open. It'll be open. Okay. We will paint the limits on the ground. That's something that was another one of Ally's comments. We'll probably end up part of this striping a aisle through the middle of it, and also some signage as well to establish it. So we know where it is, and we know, because the important thing is we want to be able to maintain our drive aisles. The 30-foot clearance here behind the building, the 30-foot clearance here.
Got it. Okay. And then that wetlands area back there, that it's kind of like triangular shaped in the driveway going towards the back.
This one right
Back
here?
there? Yeah, so that's just gonna be filled in, and so you're gonna be able to drive over it, it won't be,
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's
right, and
called,
then, and the mitigation is gonna be over to the left to compensate.
we have this area here that's getting filled in, and I think that's
Yeah.
just a hole someone dug years ago. We have another area here that needs to be filled, as well
Yeah.
as a smaller one right here. Those three areas add up to about 2,900 square feet. And
Okay,
we're gonna build an 11,000 square foot, and I'll let Abigail talk about this area when she makes her presentation. Right over here, that's gonna serve as both floodplain mitigation and wetland mitigation. It just worked really well with the lay of the land here, to be able to achieve both in the same spot.
yeah, got it. Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ben at this time, commission members? Anything? Ben, you asked the question, should you touch on the open items in the staff report now or later? I mean, that's your call. I would remind you that I don't think we're in a position to close this public hearing this evening. So it's your call as to whether or not to address them tonight or on April 16th.
I think I'm going to address a few of them because you guys may give some guidance on some of the in case you have some input on it.
All yours.
Because some of the questions that Bob was just asking were comments in Ally's report.
Okay.
And also in the fire marshals. So
Okay.
I want to make sure we're all on the same page with respect to that. So I'm just going to quickly start off on, so I've already, the building department's okay with it. They just looked at handicap accessibility. I mentioned the fire marshal has asked some questions about internal aisles. I had mentioned we'd put them, but we need to put them on the plans. So I'll be doing that. Construction services. This is actually an important question. Rob Barone, I had met him out in the field when we first submitted this project and addressed most of his comments with a recent revision. One of his comments, he's asked for a 15-foot wide right-of-way dedication along the entire frontage of this property. While we could do that, it doesn't really impact our setbacks or our parking or our building coverage or anything like that that it would push us into getting a variance. I was talking with our LEP and the owner. If we go through that process and that becomes a requirement, the way it works is you get approval, it's a condition, you have to send it to, I think the city council has to accept it, the corporation council has to accept it. I think we need some input from, at a minimum, planning staff, but maybe the corporation council, if they want land subject to an environmental land use restriction, because it could almost be seen as a gift horse. An easement may solve this a lot easier, and that's why I'm showing a proposed 15-foot easement on the plan. Because the ELUR would need to be modified again, and it would be part of the city property. So that's I'll talk to staff about that, but that's one of the reasons I'm proposing an easement and not right of way, because I see that as being an issue. Then traffic engineer Vera Karakunda had a comment. There's an existing, I'm going to zoom in on here a little bit. It's hard to see. Actually, I'm going to go to the survey. There's an existing crosswalk right here. I'm pretty sure Fuel Cell put that in when they occupied both sides of the road and they had employees going back and forth. It's a little awkward because it dumps pedestrians into the driveway apron. Vera has asked that we sort of upgrade it and put better signage on there. I had a conflicting verbal comment from another staff member who said, get rid of it. It's not needed anymore. So I'm going to talk to Vera about that directly. I don't see the need for a mid-block crosswalk here. We're actually proposing to remove it. But if it's something the city really wants, I don't know if that's the best spot for it. I'm wondering if it shouldn't be shifted up and down the road a little bit so it's not in the middle of a driveway apron. And again, that wasn't there because of pedestrian traffic on Great Pasture Road. That crosswalk was put there because Fuel Cell occupied both sides of the road for a period of time. Dan Petrovic, city engineer, had some comments. He's asked that we show the water and sewer lines, which we'll do our best to do that. They're private, there's no as-built, but I can show approximately where they are. He's questioned about planting a tree too close to this fire hydrant. I'll talk to Abigail about that. I mean, the worst case, we'll lose one more parking space, make that island a little bigger to better accommodate that. He had some drainage comments. I'm not going to go over that right now. I'll respond in kind. And then some questions about dumpsters. We'll do our best to show where we're going to put dumpsters. But again, this is technically a screened area. So the dumpsters on the site, when they're there, don't need to be screened. But we could show those on there as well. Allie had some comments. One clarification about the tenants existing and proposed. As of now, all the tenants are existing, and those are the ones proposed. We don't have anybody else. She's asked that we show the gross square footage on the zoning table. I do show it up here on the building, but we can add that to the zoning table. The spill cleanup plan, I'll have to talk to her about that. Again, we don't know exactly what's going to be stored here and by who. So I'm not sure how we would do a plan if we don't know what's being stored. I don't almost think that should be contingent on what tenants you get and what you end up storing here, if it's even necessary. Because depending on what you store, a spill cleanup plan may not be necessary. And I really don't anticipate anything other than vehicles, and the only spills that you're going to have there are gasolines and oils, which our stormwater system should be able to accommodate that because we do have a oil water separator as well. I talked about the aisles, and as far as the fencing, Allie's comments were, would it make sense to put fencing here to keep creeping storage areas out into the wetlands? I'd rather not do that. I want this site to be, I want to be able to look into the woods and not just be completely screened. And I also want to be able to plow these areas and not just be completely confined by fencing. Again, I'll talk to staff about that. I think we do provide adequate buffer. I think the way the site's laid out, that's the whole reason we get site plans approved. So if someone is in violation, they can be cited for it if they're beyond the realm. But again, we could do other things like adding signage and things of that nature. Just to get a sense, we do have a guardrail that's going to be put on top of this retaining wall. So there's really going to be no creep on that side. Abigail's got her wetland mitigation floodplain here. There's kind of a steep, not a steep slope, but a slope going down to it. It's going to be hard to creep on this site, and they really shouldn't be doing it anyway. That's something the owner's going to have to maintain. Allie's asked for a truck turning plan. That's something we can give. It's not an issue. As I mentioned, the site currently is difficult. Trucks have to come in, turn around, and go back. They're going to be able to drive around the whole site the way we have it designed. And then I'll add, and then lighting. I need to talk to the owner to see exactly what they want to do about lighting. And we'll if we do add lighting, it'll be on the next revision of the plans. And just in summary, this site, as far as the the requirements for approval, the 10C4, this is outdoor storage. Really, that's all we're changing. We're improving so many other things. It's compatible with the neighborhood. There's going to be no noise, smoke, odor, glare, vibration from it. We're not adversely impacting traffic. We're actually improving it, in my opinion, by by putting this internal access. And again, we're not going to harm the environment. When this is all said and done, the environment will be in a better situation with the site improvements that we make to it. And we're going to do that all through the DEP. And that's how the Wetlands Commission approved the project, that it's subject to a DEP soil management plan. I'll let Abigail go over her plans, and I'll stop talking and stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening. For the record, my name is Abigail Adams, registered landscape architect and owner of A2 Land Consulting out of New Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm going to share my screen quickly. If it's going to cooperate with me. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully that came up.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'm going to stay on the overall plan unless we need to zoom into anything. So what we've done is, because the site is so large, we've broken it up into 5 different sheets. So starting in the northwest corner here, basically we've proposed a very large mix of primarily native canopy trees, understory trees, deciduous and evergreen shrubs throughout the site. We have a whole list of species, including birch, swamp oak, buttonbush, chokeberry, winterberry, swamp rose, plethora, a whole bunch of things. So I definitely don't need to review the whole entire plant list with you, but overall, this mix is going to provide habitat and food sources for wildlife and pollinators, and the entire mitigation area that we have over here will be seeded with a wet mix. So not only do we have this mix of buffer plantings along between the development and the buffering the wetland area and into the mitigation area, we are also seeding this entire area with a wet mix that is listed on the last sheet of the plan set. Moving to the east, the northeast area here, there's not too much happening on this sheet. We have this small corner here on the western side. Again, it's part of that buffer planting that we have between the proposed development and the wetland area that is to the west. We have canopy trees proposed in the end islands and then along some of the areas here. And then also in this northern area here, wherever there's any sort of disturbance, we always call for a seed mix. While I'm talking about disturbed areas, I'm also going to mention that we have provided an invasive removal plan for the site in the areas where we are disturbing. We noted multiple invasives throughout, your typical multiflora rose, Phragmites, a bunch of other ones. So we do call for invasive removal in the areas where we are working. Moving over to the eastern portion, the majority of this site is just existing wooded vegetation in this area. And then again, where we have a little bit of disturbance happening, we will seed that. When we get into the front of the property, right now it's primarily lawn with some foundation plantings along the building. We are providing the 20-foot landscape buffer as required per zoning. So this is really going to be quite an improvement to the existing building here as you are driving along and viewing the site from Great Pasture Road. Coming back into the site here, some end island trees happening here, and then in the new islands that Ben has proposed as part of the site plan. Moving along to the west, again, on the western side of the retaining wall, we do have some additional shrubs in this area for greater buffer happening, and then some seed mixes again on the disturbed area. Let's see. The buffer plantings include similar species to what we have in the wetlands mitigation area. Again, we're trying to focus primarily on natives for this site. To Ben's point, with all of the environmental improvements, we also want to improve the site ecologically, and we think that this is going to be a huge improvement to what's existing right now. And overall, our plan includes predominantly native, stating that again, and also focuses on both aesthetics and four-season interest for the property. I did have invasives noted at the end of my notes here, but I've already discussed that a little bit. So it's a pretty straightforward planting and landscape plan, but it does have a great variety of plant material, again, for habitat, pollinators, and a really nice buffer between the development and the wetland area. That's it. That wraps that up.
Questions for Abigail, commission members? Anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Got my share.
Ben, is that it for your team? Is Ben there? Hello? I can't, you're muted. You're
We're
muted.
all muted. Ben, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, that's it for our team. I do not see anyone else here. So unless anyone has any questions, I know this is going to get continued. But I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I'll try to get to the bottom of that 15-foot right-of-way versus easement with staff.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, well, we discussed the open items at length. There's obviously some engineering things, wetlands, floodplain things. I think the fire marshal has some concerns. So again, several open items to be continued until April 16th. Unless there's any questions from the commission to the applicant, I will entertain a motion to continue.
Mr. Chairman, so move.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvain. A motion to continue. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Helen. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. This application is continued until our next regular meeting, which is April 16th, 2025. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move right along on our agenda to item 1 under continuation of public hearing. Bright Ravens IS Danbury LLC application for special exception site plan approval for hotel conversion to apartment house mixed use Innovation Studios Danbury in accordance with section 5B2B14 and trip generation greater than 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2 in the CA80 zone, 18 Old Ridgebury Road, C15008, special exception number 804. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. My name is Steve Sullivan, professional engineer with CCA LLC. We're here tonight just to give you an update. We don't expect to be long because we're going to ask for a continuance to the next meeting. We did meet with city staff last Thursday, and we expect to submit revised plans and responses to staff comments the next day or so. And there was a question last week about traffic that our traffic engineer was not at the meeting, if you recall. And so Joe Balskis is here to talk about that one question. And after that, if there's any other questions the commission members may have, we'll be happy to answer them. If not, then we would ask for a continuance till the 16th of April. So Joe, it's all.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, for the record, sorry, but I was there last week. I was just in the background and I was not able to speak, but I am here today. Thank you very much for accommodating me. Joe Balskis, for the record, licensed professional engineer, state of Connecticut. I've been helping in the application with the traffic generation. And I did hear some of the testimony or some of the questions last week, and I was prepared to respond to them. But anyway, the question had to do with the impact, I think it was to Mill Plain Road. Someone asked that question. I don't know if it was a commission members or someone else, but so here's what's happening. This, in the presentation slides that Steve went over with you, we showed about 100 trips in the afternoon peak hour of a net increase. We show a daily decrease overall, but we should show an afternoon peak hour about 100 trips increase over the hotel use. And what I can say is this to that. Yes, that's 100 trips, but this site being located in Old Ridgeberry Road, as we all know, and how do you get to the site? Because most of the traffic will be coming from Interstate 84, like 80% is what I think we're forecasting. So if you're coming from the east, coming from downtown Danbury, you're going to take the high-speed ramp. Instead of going down a Milestone Road, you go right around the ramp, come up, and you're going to come up to the site and turn left. All right. If you're coming from the west, from New York, you get off at Milestone Road. You can go left or right. Most likely you'll take a right, come through the reserve, through the roundabout, and turn and take a left onto Old Ridgeberry Road, come down to the site. So we envision that like most of the traffic, 80% of it at least, will be using, not using Mill Plain Road to enter or exit the site during the afternoon peak hours. So some traffic could use Mill Plain Road. Yes, you could turn left on Milestone and then right onto Mill Plain and right onto Old Ridgeberry. Those are two right turns. So we don't anticipate any issues with impacts as a result of that. We know the DOT has been improving the traffic signals in the area as well when that's happening. So in terms of the 100 trips, not a lot of trips, especially when you look at how much traffic volume is actually on Old Ridgeberry Road over the course of the day and actually during the peak hour. But that's our expectation, that most traffic will be not using Mill Plain Road to come to the site. Some could come down Mill Plain Road. Yes, they could, but we don't expect a lot of traffic, 20% of it. So that's really a nominal amount of traffic that may be using Mill Plain Road to come to the site. So that's why I just want to make sure that we put on the record for everyone to hear. And I'm obviously available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Commission members, any questions for Joe Bauskas at the present time?
And please excuse my cell phone. I'm teaching class tonight, so but I want to make sure I got my information on the record.
No, Joe, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Steve, was there anything you wanted to add?
Nope, that was it. We just wanted to get that on the record and see if there's anything else. But like I said, we're going to submit the revised plans and responses to staff comments next day or so, and then see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Hold on, let me see if I can turn on my camera.
Yeah, I can't. Is that you, Ben? I can't.
That's me.
You got to put your camera on, brother. I can't see it.
All right, hold on. Here we go. Here we go. Is it working?
Yeah, now we got you.
All right, here we go. Thank you. For the record, Ben Chinuzzi at 5 Briar Ridge Road. In response to the traffic engineer's suggestion that Mill Plain Road would not be used, I mean, that's a hard assumption given the fact that we don't know who our tenants are going to be yet. Because I live around there, and I think some of the people on the commission may as well. I foresee people using Mill Plain Road, especially with the shopping plaza at the corner of Old Ridgeberry and Mill Plain, Stop and Shops along Mill Plain. There's a lot of restaurants along that place. I do see people using it, more than the 20% that has been projected. I would like to see a what-if scenario. What if 80% of people do use Mill Plain and only 20% use the highway? What would that look like? Because a lot of residents up there, especially in the reserve, are concerned, especially if Mill Plain Road gets backed up because of the highway. So I think that could be an issue. And I don't think it was mentioned anything about the entrance yet, getting in and out of the project. As you know, at the last meeting, we were concerned about the incline of that access way in and out. And there hasn't been any mention of a traffic light, if that was being proposed at all, whether or not you needed one in order to get the residents out of there quicker than queuing up on a hill to get out in the morning or in the evenings. those are my questions at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ben. Joe, I'll turn it right over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, a couple of things. So, I mean, in terms of the distribution of traffic, his question that is maybe 80-20. We're saying 80% to the highway, 20% to Mill Plain Road. Could it be a little higher? It could be. It could be. There's not exact science unless we know the exact tenants and their addresses. But the fact of the matter is, this is next to a highway ramp system. And if you're downtown Danbury, you want to get here, you're going to take the highway. You're not going down Lake Avenue to Mill Plain Road. So could it be higher? I'm not going to say no. It could be. But I can tell you this. Whether it's 20 cars or 50 cars on Mill Plain Road, it's not going to matter in terms of impacts. I know Ben's concerned about that. Mill Plain Road, this kind of volume being added Mill Plain Road is not going to have a significant impact on Mill Plain Road. So I guess I'm saying is that, yeah, it could be higher, could be lower, but this volume of traffic is not significant in terms of generation. The State Traffic Administration looks at 100 trips as their study area at an intersection. We're not having 100 trips at an intersection. So I understand the concern, and I'm not dismissing it. It is a legitimate concern. But if the percentage is higher, if we're talking about 500 trips an hour, being generated, okay, we might need to do a full-blown traffic impact study Mill Plain Road. That's not necessary here, given this low amount of traffic volume is being generated. Number one. Number two, regarding the traffic light at the driveway, when the hotel was proposed years ago, there was no provisions requirement for it to be signalized. The volumes that come out of this driveway are low. In terms of usual generators require a signal, the traffic signal would not be warranted at this driveway based on what's on Oldsbury Road today and what is coming out of this development. So it needs to meet a warrant, traffic signal warrants through the state, and they're very prescribed how much volume you need to have. So you need to meet a warrant. Number three is in terms of the site driveway. This site driveway has worked for 40 years. I don't recall it having an issue with people waiting on the driveway to exit. Okay, it slows them down, if anything. I don't see the driveway grade impacting the operation of the driveway at Oldsbury Road. Will it take a little longer to get out because you're on a hill? Yeah. Okay, that's normal. That's what's there today. It's been there. We've been there for banquets, there for a number of years. But it's not going to influence Old Ridgeberry Road operation. It's not going to affect your turning into Old Ridgeberry Road. It's not going to affect turning left in or right in. It may affect the exit, but that's on the site. So we don't see that as a concern in terms of traffic operations for the intersection of Old Ridgeberry Road with the site driveway. And it does not meet a warrant for traffic, and it won't meet a warrant for traffic signalization.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that response. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, as mentioned earlier, we are waiting.
I'm sorry, Arnie.
We got
There's
somebody?
Ellen's new iPad. Her hand is
Oh, I'm
raised.
sorry. Go right ahead. It's kind of got the gallery view. It's kind of hard for me to see. Go ahead, Ellen.
Hi, yes, thank you. I am a resident. I live off Old Ridgeberry Road on Larson Drive. And I call BS on what our little traffic engineer has said about the impact on Mill Plain Road. It is horrendous. People are going to use the highway. Did you ever see Mill Plain Road when there's an accident on 84 almost daily? It's gridlock. I think he's being very flip and dismissive about what the impact of this traffic is going to be.
Thank you for that. Ellen, I appreciate the input. As a resident of Rivington, I would tell you that your concerns are valid. So
Excuse me, Arnie. Excuse
Yes.
me. I have to have a name to put in the minutes. I can't just say
Ellen,
the
what's
lady.
what's your last name?
M-A-R-I.
M-A-R-I, Larson
Emerson.
Drive, Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, again, thank you, Ellen, for your input. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. All right. As
Mr. Chairman?
mentioned, I'm sorry.
Arnie.
Just to follow up on that, and just I guess a comment on that, and maybe Joe could comment on it as well. I think that the 100 cars are in the afternoon peak hour. And I guess the thought process there is coming home from work, right? So unless you're working on Mill Plain Road or that area, you're probably going to take the highway and come off one of those exits or an entrance on the highway and probably bypass Mill Plain Road. So that's what I kind of got the gist from what Joe said. And Joe, maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong there. And that's why more will be using the highway versus Mill Plain Road. Does that make sense?
It does. I tried to convey that. So again, Joe Balska for record. I wasn't trying to be flippant with the comments on Mill Plain Road. I guess I don't have a map in front of me to show you, and I can provide some more detail on that. But the point is that yes, the ramps will be more used for access to and from the site. And my point about Mill Plain Road, I do know Mill Plain Road. I've done several projects on Mill Plain Road. I do know it very well. I don't live there, understand that, but I do know Mill Plain Road. Yes, it does back up when there's significant congestion on 84. And as I said before, if we were talking about a lot more traffic, then we would need to do a more detailed traffic impact study. But my point is that the low volume of traffic that we're talking about that would use Mill Plain Road is not going to have an impact to Mill Plain Road. When you have 20,000 cars a day in certain section of Mill Plain Road, add in, and we're actually reducing the overall daily traffic, but the peak hour traffic, that is not going to have an impact to Mill Plain Road because, like I said, most traffic we think is going to use Interstate 84 ramps to access the site as they're leaving the site in the morning, as they're coming back to the site in the afternoon. So we do not see a significant impact to Mill Plain Road from this limited amount of traffic being generated. Let's be clear here too. This was a hotel. This is not necessarily a brand new development. This was a hotel. So we're talking about here is the incremental increase from hotel to these uses. So we're forecasting less traffic in the morning, and it's in the afternoon peak hour that again is only 100 net trips increase. So that's why I'm trying to say that it's not significant. I know it may appear to be significant, but it's not in terms of when you think about 100 cars, that's a little bit more than 1 car per minute. Okay, a little bit more than 1 car. You look at 60 cars an hour, so 120 is 2 per minute. So we're a little bit less than 2 cars per minute that we're talking about that is going to be increased over the hotel previous traffic that was generated. So that's the reason for my statements on Mill Plain Road not being, I didn't say there'd be no traffic. I just said there'd be less traffic being impacted in Mill Plain Road than on the Interstate 84 ramp. So I hope that clarifies it. I'm not trying to be flippant. I'm trying to be clear in what I'm saying and using the numbers that we have, and I can provide more information if needed for the next meeting.
Thank you, Joe, for those comments. I appreciate it. Mr. Rotello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Rotello for the record. 13 Linden Place, Danbury. I spoke at the last meeting. You know, we had some concerns. For the record, I represent the 6th Ward where the project is proposed. We had some concerns about queuing in the morning and left-hand turns coming into the facility in the afternoon. And I appreciate the input from the traffic consultant. I'm out every morning around 6:30, 7 o'clock jogging in my neighborhood. And while it may be true mathematically that there's only going to be 2 cars a minute in excess compared to what there is now, it generally happens that comes in a pretty tight clump. It's not spread out over a 2-minute period. There is a period. I don't know when it would be on Mill Plain or on Ridgebury Road, but often those cars are jammed into a period of about 20 minutes. So we do have some concerns about, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago at the meeting, how people are going to be exiting, coming up that ramp driveway, and how people are going to be coming in. I was having some trouble with the internet earlier. So my apologies if the engineer has covered this already, but I would like to hear responses to my queries from 2 weeks ago on how they're going to deal with queuing, exiting in the AM and left-hand turns entering in the PM. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, through the chair, Joe, response, please.
Yeah. Let me do this. I think let me submit something for next meeting, showing an analysis of the site driveway in the morning peak hour as well as the afternoon peak hour. Let me do that. I think that I provided the presentation that Steve went through, the numbers, trip generation. Clearly, there's some concerns that we need to address. And I think the analysis of the intersection of the site driveway, we can provide analysis of that and showing, the delays that may be incurred for vehicles turning in and out of the driveway. So let us do that. I think let us do that. We can submit that, and then we can review that at the next meeting. I think that may allay some concerns, and I'll provide some more information on distribution of traffic versus my saying 80 and 20. I can use some actual numbers that's on Old Ridgeberry Road area for existing traffic, existing residential traffic. So I can provide a little more information now. I think that will address some of the concerns, and we can submit that and we can review that at the next meeting.
Good,
That's
Joe.
satisfactory to me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, and good, thank you. We'll look forward to receiving that documentation. Okay, I think I called the opposition, so let's give it another shot. As I mentioned, as Mr. Sullivan mentioned, they're still going to be submitting some revisions. We're waiting for some revisions to the plan. So we really cannot close this tonight anyway, nor would we, given the open item. So unless there's any other discussion, I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until April 16th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue the hearing till next.
Thank you, Mr. Kyokyo. Second by Helen. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this one will remain open until our next meeting. We will address the open items at that time. Okay, moving along. Thank you very much, everybody, for the presentation. Moving along, we have nothing under old business for discussion of possible action, so we'll go right to referrals. We have 183A referral. Petition of Walid I'm going to get this right, Al-Bakri. Planning Director to amend Section 5B1 and Sections 5B2A 47, 5B4F to the zoning regulations. Amend purpose and intent of the CA80 zone and add high precision tool manufacturing and assembly with specific requirements as permitted use in the CA80 zone. Public hearing scheduled for April 22nd, 2025. Walid, are you going to lead the discussion on this one? And just so you know, you are muted. There he is.
Hey, good evening.
Hey.
Yes, we'll have a discussion, we'll have a presentation during the public hearing. Sorry, not the public hearing, during the discussion. But to give you just a general idea, what's happening is we evaluated the existing requirement within our CA, the commercial area, and we see an opportunity because we have limited light industrial land here in the city to allow for very specific uses that are very limited in nature within the CA80 zone. Again, there will be some conditions. One of them that I remember now is having a minimum of at least 3 acres. And of course, there will be all the use, basically, the industrial use will have to be all indoors. So meaning that there will be no outdoor storage and there will be limited of no impact whatsoever on the neighboring properties. Plus, all our existing CA80 are away from residential uses. So we see it as a good opportunity for future economic development based on the analysis we have about future, I would say, opportunities in the cities. You know, Danbury has a history of being industrial in nature. Of course, now we are actually having more of a mix of use, but still, we don't want to lose out on potential sources of income in terms of taxes, where it actually will have minimal or no impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. However, just during the meeting in the future, I will have more analysis about CA80 and also how many acres we have, what kind of opportunities that might open up. And of course, there will be a discussion.
Any questions for Waleed on this one? Okay,
And Mr.
Um,
Chairman, if I may add, this
yes.
will be one application that is being submitted by staff. However, in the future, we have a lot of discussion between us, our Economic Development Office here in the city, different businesses, be it local or not, and we are looking at different section in our zoning regulations that potentially we can look at to have more opportunities for a mixed income for the city. I mean, different kind of opportunities that don't exist now.
I'm trying to remember, at some point, Waleed, and I'm looking it up as we speak, the purpose and it, each zone has a purpose and intent in the regs. I apologize, I should have done this research before we started. Do you think this will become necessary to rewrite the purpose and intent of the CA80 zone, or is it still, can we just leave it the way it is and it's compatible?
Yeah, absolutely right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You didn't see it yet. Yes, we are changing the section about the intent for the CA80. So
Okay.
it's not only about the use, the intent itself is changing because based on what is happening all over the nation, what used to be the distinction that was sometimes very unflexible, it's not flexible, it's inflexible, doesn't exist anymore in the new zoning regulation. Nowadays, there are a mix of different uses that I would say all the regulation did not account for. And the reason for that, we all know. Technology is advancing very quickly. What used to be light industrial use back in the days, it's very difficult to pinpoint what it is now because it has doesn't have any impact whatsoever in the neighborhood. So really, is it light industrial? Some might argue it might be more like an office kind of use. That's what the nature of what's going on.
And I did locate the purpose and intent of the CA80 zone. I'll just read, it's very short, it's one sentence. The purpose of this district is to provide for general and heavy commercial uses in appropriate locations along major roadways of the city. So this use seems to be compatible with that purpose and intent. I'm okay with it. Commission members, any questions for Waleed? Any discussion on this particular amendment to the regs? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for either a positive or negative referral. Is that you, Kev? Well, somebody's got to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion for a positive referral on this item.
Thank you, Perry.
Especially as it supports the POCD, namely the Innovate section of the POCD.
Thank you, Perry. Motion for a positive referral. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Helen. Motion made and seconded for a positive referral. Is there any discussion?
I just would like to say, I wish there was more detail on exactly what we're changing here. And I know, I know that's not available right now. But so it's, in a way, it seems like it could be abused until, it could be wrong until we get more specific information. But that said, I do think that there is a very foggy line now, especially with high precision type of manufacturing, and we do need more manufacturing in our city. So that's the reason I seconded the motion.
Okay, and that's fair, Helen. Again, in my standard speech on any referral it's just a referral. The zoning commission has to have a public hearing, and they have to open this up to the public and do a much deeper dive into it. As I look at it, I mean, I just counted, there are 46 permitted uses in the CA80 zone, 46. And there are there's 22 special exception uses. So it is a little bit all over the place. As Waleed said, times are changing, and the regs have to change to accommodate the times and the sort of the transition the city goes through. So again, we're going to have to leave this up to the zoning commission to have a full-blown public hearing and talk about this. Go ahead, Waleed. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I just, to your point, Helen, Commissioner Helen, actually, everything is ready. Had I known, I would actually have forwarded to you guys because all the work that needs to be done is already done. And in a nutshell, again, as I would echo what was said by the chairman, what's going on here is, it's not a secret. Our zoning regulations are very outdated and are all over the place. We are chipping away at each section one by one. I have a huge list of what needs to be done. Of course, it cannot all be done at once, but the goal is to make the regulations in line with what they should be. By in line, I mean, we have been comparing what we have with other communities close by and even in different states. And most importantly, we have been listening to our community, our business community, people who live here, the office of the mayor. So there's a lot of work being done to streamline our regulations and simplify them if we can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Waleed? Okay, there's been a motion and a second for a positive referral. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of a positive referral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter gets a positive referral and is handed to the zoning commission for further consideration. Thank you. And again, this is a smaller part of a bigger story, and the bigger story being looking at all the zones, all the purpose and intents, and rewriting them so they're contemporary with what's going on in the world today. So that's a big job. It's a big job. Okay. That's it for referrals. We have nothing under new business, nothing under correspondence. A couple of things under for reference only. Allie or Jennifer, I don't think I'm forgetting anything, am I?
No, I don't think so.
I always check with you guys. Okay, unless there's anything else, commission members, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Helen. Second? Second, Kevin. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night.